This will be time when the priest will get called up. All right, he will state his name and his registry. La Yasha Allah. Al-Majim, which means to stand. Wa-Panyahak with dumb and face the east. We're going to do the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. The Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa. Shabbat Shemayim. Right. Qadash. Hayah. Shamka. Yahweh. Malakufka. Daba'ah. Rataza'aka. Hayah. Aisha. Barataza. Kawa. Hayah. Bashamayim. Nathundanawa, Lacham, Cow, Yomam, Wasalak Nawa, Kabawak Slakit, Wasalak Nawa, Kabawak Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kabawak Yanawa, Wala'a, Dabaya'a Nawa, Banasayawa, Abal, Hawshai Nawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watapara, La Awalamyam, Aman. In the English, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever, so be it. Hakak, the power, in the Hebrew, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Babakusha, Nathanawa, Hakak, Lamapa'a, Kalamakala, Wakal Manawa, Hakak, Latahar, Hamatazarayan, Hakak, Lahakwiyam, Hamathiyam, Hakak, Al-Khawa, Hatama'ala, Lagarashan, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, the water Aman. In the English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shah, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahweh Shah, thank you, so be it. Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'a, Ayanya, All-Haryam, Ma'ayan, Yaba'a, Isaiah, Ma'ayin, Yahweh, Aisha, Shemayim, Wa'arataza, Al-Yathan, Lamawat, Regalaka, Al-Yanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yalashan, Shawamar Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al-Yad, Yamyanka, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'a, Yakaka, Wayarak, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamorka, Makal Rai, Yashamor, Afnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamor, Taza'aka, Wawa'aka, Ma'ita, Wa'ai, Iwalam, Aman. In the English, I will lift up my eyes into the hills, from which cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. So be it. Psalm 83 in the Hebrew. Al-Ayim, Al-Damayalaka, Al-Takarash, Al-Tashakwat, Al-Kayahana, Al-Yabyaka, Yahamadawan, Wamashanayaka, Nasha'awa, Ra'ash, Al-Aimaka, Ya'irayamwa, Sawad, Wayatayaitazawa, Al-Tazapawanyaka, Amorawa, Lakawa, Wanapakidam, Mogoya, Wana'a, Yazakar, Sham Yasha'ala, Iwad, Kaya, Nawa'ai Tazawa, La, Yahadwa, Aulika, Baraya, Yakarafwa, Ahalya, Adawa, Wayashama'alayam, Mawa'aba, Wahagoyam, Gabal, Wa'aimawan, Wa'aimalak, Palashat, Aim Yashabya, Tazawar, Gama Ashawar, Nalawa, Imam, Slakia, Hayawa, Zawawai, Labanya Lawat, Salah, Aisha Laham, Kamadyan, Kasaya Sara'a, Kayabyan, Balakal, Koyashwan, Nashamadwa, Ba'ayanda Awa, Hayawa, Daman, La Adama, Shagatamwa, Narayatmawa, Ka'aiba, Wakaza'aba, Wakazabat, Wakazazalmanai, How, Nasayakamwa, Ashar, Amorawa, Nagavasha, Lanawa, Na'awa, Alahaya, Shagatamwa, Kagazala, Kakwash, Lapanya Raka, Ka'ash, Taba Ira, Wakalahaba, Talahat, Hoyam, Khan, Tabadatma, Basa Iraka, Wabasawapaka, Tabahalam, Mala'a, Panyaham, Kwalawad, Wayabakwashwa, Shamka, Yahweh, Yabashwa, Wayabahalwa, Ayai, Wayakapawa, Wayabadwa, Wayadaiwa, Kaya Ata, Shamka Yahweh, Labadka, Al-Yawan, Al-Kal, Harataza, Aman. Psalms 83 in the English. Keep not thy silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy holy ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are conferred against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, of Moab, and the Hazarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre, Asher also enjoined with them. They have spoken the children of Lot, Salah, do unto them, as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, as the book of Kasar, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth, make their nose like a red, and like the egg, yea, all their princes, as Zabah, and as the Huna, who said, Let us take to ourselves the house of Yahweh in possession. O my power, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth for wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Yahweh. Let them be confounded, and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame, and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the Most High over all the earth. So be it. The blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh, wa Yahweh Shai, wa Maya Ka'ala, wa Alahayim, Matazad Ya'a, Alawat Yahana, Ha Alawatiyim, Ha Saranyim, Ha Kudazayanyim, Ha Kuryayayim, Wa Akwakye, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, the water in the English. Bless you, Yahweh, and Yahushua, and Mikey, and the angels, commanding during Yahweh, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters, Yahweh, and the name Yahushua, thank you, so be it. I'm going to do bless Israel in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, Barak Renawa, Wajasha'ala, Wahab Yasapoyim, Barak, Rapah, Magan, Hagan, Ba'ashim Yahushua, the Wa'aman. What we just said in the English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua, bless us and Israel and the school, bless, heal, shield, protect our loved ones, in the name of Yahushua, thank you, so be it. It's like a sar, which means to turn. Yeshabium, which means to be seated. Alright, Shalom Israel, with Israelite School, Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana, and we are now affiliated with any other Israelite group. This is the Lord's Sabbath service. Alright, this is the Lord's Sabbath service. It's very important for us to attend the Sabbath service, man. If you're also watching online, make sure you put your name, city, and state. Don't forget to sign in and check in. It's very important to put your name, city, and state so you can get attendance for class, alright? Do not forget that. But now this is the Lord's Sabbath service. It's very important to attend the Sabbath service. Why? Because this is where you learn your culture. This is where you learn your heritage. Like through the Sabbath service is how we held on to our culture. And through the Sabbath service is how we held on to our heritage. And how we kept the language of the Most High. You understand? Alright? Like this is how we knew how to pronounce some of the words in the Lashon Kodash due to keeping the Sabbath service. Alright? Because we would have to read out of the Bible and read out of the scripts that were written aforetime, and that's out of the Bible. That's out of the Torah, right? Or some say the Tanakh. That's the Bible. That's the Old Testament. We would have to read these scriptures during the Sabbath service and things like that in the Hebrew. So this is where you learn your culture. This is when you learn your history. You learn your heritage. You learn the law and things like that, and understand what's going on. Like this is why it's so important to attend the Sabbath service as well. You get the best of both worlds. You get to learn the Hebrew, you get to learn the history, and you get breakdowns of scriptures. Like it's very important to attend the Sabbath service because it's very important. You may not get all of that just during Monday through Thursday. All right, and Fridays they focus on the Hebrew class. Now Hafizan, Warrior, come here, Warrior, quickly. Baba Kusha, quickly. Come in. Are you alright? Okay. I'm going to need you to cut it out, alright? Relax. Now go sit down. Baba Kusha. Alright? The water. So now it's very important to understand this. It's very important to attend the Sabbath service because you get to learn all these things. It's very, very important to understand. So now where we left off last week, we left off in Joshua. I believe we were in chapter 4. And we ended in chapter 4. Alright, we ended that in chapter 4. So now we're going to be in Joshua. We're going to start in chapter 5. And we're going to start at verse 1. Alright, so now we're in the book of Joshua. Now Joshua is a very, very good book. Okay, Joshua is a very good book. This is talking about when we came into the land of Canaan. And we're about to establish the nation of Israel. Alright. Hey, warriors, calm down, alright? Alright, warriors? Now, Joshua. Now, we're going to get Joshua chapter 5 in the Hebrew starting in verse 1. Now, Joshua chapter 5 verse 1 in the Hebrew. Wayahaya, Kashamai, Kal, Malakia, Ha'amarya, Ashar, Ba'aibar, Hayaradan, Yama, Wakal, Slakia, Yama, Wakal, Malakia, Hakanaanya, Ashar, Al, Hayam, Ashar, Hawabayash, Yahweh, Maya, Hayaradan, Mapanya, Banya Yasha'ala I Salaki wa Ibarna Nawa Ibarnawa Ibaram Salaki Ibarma wa Yamas Lababma wa La'a Haya Bam Salaki not Bam Bama wa I Racha wa Mapanya Banya Yasha'ala. Verse 2. Ba'ai Hahaya Amar Yahawa Al Yahawashai Aisha Laka Harabawa. Like it. Harab. It's like Harabwa. Tazarya. Tazarya. Washawab Mala. Like a mal at banya yasha'ala shanya. Verse 3. Waya Aisha lawa yahawashai Harabwa Tazarya waya mal at banya yasha'ala at Gabaytha. It's like a Gabayth. Ha'aral. It's like it. Ha'aralawa. Verse 4. Wazah Hadabar Ashar Mal Yahawashai Kal Ha'ain Hayatazah Matazarium. It's like it. Matazarium. Hazakarium Kal Anashim. It's like it. Anashir Hamalachama Mathwa Bamadab, it's like it, Bamadabar, Badarak, Bataza'ahma, Mamatazrai. Verse 5. Kaya, Malyam, Hayawa, Kal, Ha'ain, Hataza'ayim, Wakal, Ha'ain, Hayalakim, Bamadabar, Badarak, Bataza'ahma, Matazarayim, La'av, Malawa, Slakia, Mao. Verse 6. Kaya Arabayim, Shana, Halak, Slakia, Halakwa, Banya Yasha'ala, Bamadabar, Ai, Thumb Kaya, Kal, Hagoya, Anashya, Hamalachama, Hayatazayim, Matazarayim, Ashar La'a, Shemaiwa, Bakowal, Yahawa Ashar, Nashabai, Yahawa, Laham, Labalafya, Hara'atham, Harataza Ashar, Nashabai, Yahawa, La Abaraf, like it. La Arwafam, La Fa, La Nawa Rataza, the Ba, saying it right. The Ba, so like it. First, lost track there. The Ba, Halal, what the Bash. Verse 7. Wa'ah Baniham. It's like it. Banyaham. Hakoyam. The Chafma. Atham. Mal. Yahavashai Kaya. Iralium. It's like an Iralium. Hayawa Kaya La'a. Malwa. Our thumb. Badarak. Alright, that's the verse. That's the first 7 verses in the Hebrew. Alright, let's get it in the English. Joshua chapter 5 verse 1. And it came to pass, when all the kings of the Amorites, which were on the side of Jordan westward. So now this is during the time of Joshua. Now Joshua is leading the nation of Israel into the land of Canaan. We are now coming into the land that the Lord promised us to be an inheritance. Like the Lord chose, like we have to give in context. The Lord chose a certain nation of people to rule the entire earth, to be in charge of all the nations on the earth. That's why the Lord said in Deuteronomy, when he was talking to Moses and giving the word to Moses to give to the nation of Israel, while Joshua was on that scene, while Caleb was on that scene, and all the brothers that we're going to read about in Joshua and Judges were there when this word was given to Moses to give to the children of Israel, right? We were coming into this land, and we were going to take all these heathens out the land. Like, that was the order, to wipe all these heathens, like these heathens that were giants, completely out of the land. That was the order given by the Most High. This was the land given to us for an inheritance. This was who the Lord chose. This is the people that the Lord raised up, which is the Israelites, which is blacks, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So this land, now this is in context. Now this is the history of Israel being established. Alright? It's in Joshua, and you can find some of it in Judges. But right now we're in Joshua. Alright? And all the kings of the Canaanites. So this is where, so now we have the Amorites and the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that the Most High had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Israel. So these kings, the king of the Amorites and the king of the Canaanites, they heard these things. They heard that this land, the Lord dried up Jordan, and the children of Israel was able to pass through. Like, they heard about this, right? That were passed over, that their heart melted, neither was there spirit in them anymore, because of the children of Israel. So how about we run that back? Right, let's run that back real quick. They heard what the Lord has done. And because they heard what the Lord did for the children of Israel, that's why it says that their heart melted. Their heart melted, and Akim and Rakim, their heart melted. Meaning the fear of God was put into them when they heard these things. Their heart melted. That's why the Lord goes and says, neither was there spirit in them anymore. Meaning there was no spirit in them. That was it. Whatever curse that they had, whatever brave souls that they may have had amongst the Amorites and the Canaanites, it was gone. Alright? It was gone. Their heart melted. That was it. And they heard about it because of the children of Israel. Like, we have to understand that we were, at one point in time, we were a powerful nation. These other nations amongst us, they feared us because of the Lord that we serve, because of the power that we serve. That's the reason why we were such a power on the earth. That's the reason why these other nations on the earth feared us and wanted no smoke and wanted no problems, and their heart would melt and there would be no spirit in them because of the power that we serve. You understand? It's because we serve the Lord. Like, that's what we have to understand today. No thanks to the Christian church being so evil, they take that part out. That in order for us to be great and to be where we need to be as a people and to be successful and to have the prosperity that they love to talk about, we have to serve the Lord. We have to serve the Most High so the Lord can be with us. Because if we don't serve the Most High and we don't serve the Lord, then the Lord is not going to be with us. It has always been that way since the beginning of time. It's been that way since Joshua. It's been since that time of Moses. So why would it change when Christ comes on the scene? Why would that change when Christ came on the scene? Because it didn't change. There is a way to serve the Most High. There is a way to serve the Lord. And that's by keeping His laws, statutes, and commandments. And because we kept these laws, the Lord was with us when we came into the land of Canaan. And that's why the Amorites, and the Canaanites, their heart was able to melt. And there was no spirit in them. It dealt with the Most High. It dealt with serving the Lord. Verse 2. At that time, the Most High said unto Joshua, make these sharp knives, and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time. So now the Lord gave an order to Joshua, right, to circumcise Israel. Alright, to circumcise Israel. Verse 3. It's like not verse 3. And Joshua made him sharp knives and circumcised the children of Israel at the hill of their foreskins. Verse 4. And this is the cause why Joshua did circumcise. Now this is the reason why Joshua circumcised. All the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness by the way, after they came out of Egypt. So now the Lord is saying this is the reason why Joshua did what he did. Because all the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness, right? By the way, after they came out of Egypt. Now let's go to verse 5 to get more context. Now all the people that came out were circumcised, but all the people that were born in the wilderness by the way as they came forth out of Egypt, then they had not circumcised. Now this is the reason why it had to be done. In the wilderness, we were just learning God's laws, statutes, and commandments again. We were just learning how to be Israelites again. We were learning how to serve the Lord. So the men of war and the men that were once circumcised, they died off in the wilderness. Now there's a new generation of men that were born that have not been circumcised. And there were a new generation of men, right, that need to be taught correctly what it means to serve the Lord and serve the Most High, and to have the spirit of a man of war. That's why the Lord said in Exodus chapter 15 that I am a man of war. Like the Lord is a man of war. That's why he's saying these things. Alright. Verse 6. For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness, till all the people that were men of war which came out of Egypt were consumed. So the men that were in the wilderness, that were men of war, they were consumed in the wilderness. Alright? Because they obeyed not the voice of the Most High. They didn't obey the words of the Lord. They didn't listen to the Lord. They were going against Moses. They were going against Aaron. They were serving idols, raising up idols. We just got out of Egypt. You understand? The reason why we left Egypt because we were suffering. And the only way not to suffer is to serve the Lord. So now we end up disobeying God. Like that's the reason why we had to go there 40 years in the wilderness. It was so we can get our people to obey God. Like those people had to go. Like them people that came out of Egypt, right? They had to go. They weren't listening. They weren't doing the right thing. All they were going to do is teach the next generation to be just like them and disobey the Lord and disobey God. So by the time we got into the land of Canaan, we would still disobey the Most High and disobey God. Like the Lord gave us clear details and instructions to do what He told us to do. That was the point of us being in the wilderness and Moses giving us the laws and statutes and commandments. So we know and to repeat, like repeatedly, over and over again. We kept on breaking the law over and over again. These people had to go. That was the purpose of 40 years being in the wilderness. The generation that came out of Egypt majority of those people had to go. Because we were not serving the Lord the way the Lord needed to be served. Alright? That's why the Lord said in Joshua chapter 5 verse 6, so all the people that were men of war which came out of Egypt were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of the Most High. We weren't listening to the Lord in the wilderness. So the Lord had to make statements, alright, and make things known why we need to serve Him. And that's why when they went against Korah and them brothers got consumed. You understand? When those brothers were messing with the Moabites and messing with the women and end up serving Moabite gods, they had to get put to death. Like there was a reason, like the Lord had to explain and show Israel why we need to serve Him and keep His laws, statutes, and commandments. Unto whom the Most High swear that He would not show them the land, with the Most High swear unto their fathers that He would give us a land that flows with milk and honey. So this right here, like they were not going to go into this land. Even Moses didn't get into the land for the sins that he committed. You understand? Like like the Lord was trying to make sure there was a generation that came in this land that was going to completely serve Him. Alright? That was the overall plan. So we can serve Him the right way and serve Him the way the Lord is supposed to be served. That's what serve. That's why the Lord gave the order to take all the heathens out of the land, right, and kick them out, so we can be absolutely separate from these other nations, so we don't end up serving their gods, all right, so we can actually serve the God of our forefathers the right way. But we're not going to get into that until we get into Judges, all right. Verse 7. And their children, whom he raised up in their stead, them Joshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them by the way. All right. So that's the reason why Joshua circumcised these men. All right. All right. It's a new generation. They're going to serve the Lord. This was part of the covenant that the Lord made with our forefathers. Like, this was part of the covenant. This is part of the law that we are to keep. You understand? All right. Like, circumcision is part of the law. Now, of course, when we get into the New Testament, there's a actual circumcision, then there's a spiritual circumcision. But even through that fleshly circumcision and that spiritual circumcision, it still deals with law. It still deals with keeping God's laws, statutes, and commandments. If you circumcise just by the flesh, that's still the law. If you circumcise spiritually, you still have to keep the law. You understand? Does everybody kind of understand that? So regardless of what it is, it deals with keeping God's laws, statutes, and commandments when it's talking about circumcision, because that's the law. That's the covenant that the Lord made with the nation of Israel. All right? Like, the reason why these other nations of people are circumcising their children at the hospital is because we were circumcising our sons. That came from Israel. You understand? Like, if you go into a hospital right now, they ask all kinds of nations of people, well, do you want him circumcised? And they circumcise your child. This comes from our law. That comes from our records. That comes from the records of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. It doesn't come from anyone else. These other nations won't circumcise them. All right? They won't circumcise in nothing. They never understood what circumcision really meant. All right? 1 second, princess. I'm in class. All right? Put it in the table. All right? Put it for sure. Like we don't understand that. All right. That's it on verse 7. All right. Let's get the next 7 verses. We'll start at verse 8 in the Hebrew. Joshua chapter 5 verse 8 in the Hebrew. Wayahaya ka'ashar thamwa kal hagoya lahamawal wayabashwa the khatam the khafma bamachana ay hayawahma. Verse 9, Wayamor Yahawa Al Yahawashai Hayawam Galawafia Harapak. It's like it. Karapak Matazariah Ma'alyakam Wayakara'a Sham Hamakawa Hawa'a Galagal Ay Hayawam Hazak. Verse 10, Wayakanawa Banya Yasha Allah Bagalagal Waya Aishawa Hapasak Ba'arabai Aishar Yawam Lachadash Ba'irabwa Yorayakwa. Verse 11, Waya Akalwa Ma'abawa Ha'ataza Mamakawa Hapasak Matazawa Wakolawaya Ba'aitazama Hayawam Hayawam Hazak. Verse 12, Waya Shabbat Haman, like it, Haman, Mamacharat, Mamacharat, Ba'akal, like it, Ba'akalma, Ma'ibawar, Ha'arakazah, Wala'ah, Hazah, Wa'ay, Labanya, Yasha'ala, Man, Ya'akalwa, like it, Madabawa'atha, Arakazah, Kana'ain, Kana'ain, Bashana, Hahaya'ah. Verse 13. Wayahaya, Bahayawa, Yahawashai, Bayarayakwa, Wayasha'ah, Ayanyawa, like Ayanyawa, Wayara'ah, Wahana, Ashar, like not Ashar, Ayash, Aimad, Lanagan, like Lanagadwa, Wakarabwa, Shalawaha, Bayadwa, Wayalak, Yahawashai, Aldawa, Wayamar Lawa, Hala, Slakia, Hala, Slakia, Halanawa, Atha, Latazar Yanawa. Verse 14. Waya Amar La'akaya Anyash Shar Tazaba'a Yahawa Aita Ba'athya Yapal Yahawashai Al Hanyawa Arataza Waya Shatakwa Waya Amar Lawa Ma Adanya Madabar Al Aibar. It's like an Aibadwa. Alright, that's the first 5 verses for that. Alright, let's get into the English. Now words. Go ahead and go sit down for me. Brother Kushah. Alright. Hadizan, come in. Hadizan, come in. Come in. It's alright, come in. Come in. Take a seat right here. Calm yourself down. Alright, Joshua. Now we're going to get it in the English. Joshua chapter 5. And we're going to start at verse 8. Let me go. I'm going to go back to in the Hebrew. I'm going to finish it out. Because 15 is the last verse. Let me finish it out. Alright, I'm going to finish it out. Joshua chapter 5 verse 15 in the Hebrew. Wayamar Shar Tazaba'a Yahawa Al Yahawashai Shal Ba'ilak Ma'al Ragalka Kaya Hamakalam Ashar Atha Aimar Alduwa Kodash Hawa'a Waya Aisha Yahawashai Khan. Alright. Now let's get it in the English. Now Joshua chapter 5 verse 8. We're going to start at verse 8. Joshua chapter 5 verse 8. And it came to pass, when they had done circumcising all the people, that they abode in their places in the camp till they were whole. So when they got fit, so when all the circumcising was done, they stayed within the camp and gave it time, and gave it time dealing with, because they just got finished circumcised. So they gave, there was time that needed to be time to heal, whatever the case may be. Verse 9. And the Most High said unto Joshua, this day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you. So by doing this circumcision, right? This is where it gets spiritual. This is where we have to understand, right? The Lord is saying, and the Most High said unto Joshua, this day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you. By us being circumcised, this is how we decided to separate ourselves from being under pretty much, not so to speak Egypt rule, but following the doctrine and the philosophies that come with Egypt. Like we have to understand, that was the point of the wilderness. That's what we were just bringing out earlier. That's the point of the wilderness. We had to separate ourselves and the traditions that we once knew coming out of Egypt. We were Egyptians. Just like now, all we know now is how to be American. All we know now is how to eat pork, how to have seafood boils, how to have 4th of July cookouts, how to celebrate Christmas, How to celebrate Valentine's Day. Like, this is all we know now as America. Well, in Egypt, we were the same way. All we knew how to bald our heads, get shape-ups, be homosexual, be lesbian, serve other gods. You understand? Like, and on top of that, the Egyptians despised our people, no different how America despises us today. Like, the Lord had to set, like, that was the point of the wilderness, and that was the point of us being circumcised. So we can completely separate ourselves from these other nations. Now, the Lord is specifically talking about Egypt because we were under authority in the rulership of Egypt, and we followed the customs of Egypt. Doing birthdays, celebrating birthdays, celebrating their pagan holidays, whatever was going on in Egypt, balding our heads, getting tattoos for the dead, getting all these type of marks in our arms and all of that. Like, we were doing all kinds of things in Egypt. Like, we were joining ourselves with Egypt by following their culture, by following their heritage, by practicing their practices and believing in what they believe, following Cyrus or Horus and all these other Anubis. Like we were following their gods. So now, by us being circumcised, the Lord, this is us separating ourselves. You understand? Separating ourselves from Egypt. Like, the Egyptians, absolutely, they detested the Hebrews. They are absolutely against the Israelites. Just like how America was against the Israelites now. And America continues to push their philosophy and their culture onto us because they know that's what's going to destroy us. You understand? They actually know what's going to happen. You understand? Like in Egypt, having sex with children and parents and animals. Like, this is what was going on in Egypt. And the Lord wanted us to completely separate ourselves from this. You understand? That's why the Lord is saying, all right, in verse 9, this day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you. Like, that was the point of circumcision. Like, that's why in the New Testament, Paul was trying to break down what circumcision really meant. Like, circumcision at face value didn't just mean you get circumcised on the 8th day and now you don't have anything on your scrotum and no foreskin on your scrotum. Circumcision was more than just that. And in Joshua, the Lord is explaining that as well. Like, there's more to circumcision, all right, than just cutting the foreskin off of the male child or off of the man. Period. There's more than that. It's about actually being circumcised. It's dealing with keeping the law, separating yourself, man. You understand? And kind of right. Egyptians were very cruel people to the Israelites. We were starving to death in the ghettos, and they were abusing us. You know, they were policing us. Like, that's why Moses contested with one of the Egyptians, because the Egyptians, one of the Egyptian officers was about to kill an Israelite. You understand? Was beating the Israelite to death, and so Moses got involved, and he had to kill him one. Now, was Moses right for that? No. Like that, Moses was not right for that. But you have that spirit to protect your people and to defend your people. Yes, that's the right spirit to have. You understand? But these were the things that were going on in Egypt. You understand? These were the things that were going on, right? When the Israelites were in the nation, when we were in Egypt. You understand? These were the things that were going on. Like, it's a very terrible thing. We were suffering in Egypt, just like we were suffering in the ghettos, like we are suffering in the projects in the ghettos in America. Like, this is the problem that's going on now. So now the Lord is bringing out, this day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you. Alright? Hey, Salakia, Yalabi. This is my last time I'm going to say this. Everybody go sit down, Babu Kushat. Go sit down, Babu Kushat, Adalam. That's enough. Wherefore the name of the place is called Gilgal unto this day. So now the place that they were circumcised in, where the Lord took away the reproach of Israel, right? Took the reproach of Egypt from off Israel. This place is called Gilgal. All right, it's like a Gilgal unto this day. Verse 10. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. So even though, now this right here, we still kept the Passover. Right? Keeping the Passover is in the law. We are to keep the Passover, the Lord's Passover. Now, we were able to keep the Passover right here. Even in the plains of Jericho, we were able to keep the Lord's Passover. You understand? Verse 11. And they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes, and parched corn in the selfsame day. So now it says unleavened cakes. Like right after the Passover is what? It rolls right into unleavened bread. Like this is how you know we still kept the law. You understand? Like this was in the law. We may not have understood that if the Lord did not, if it wasn't taught that we are to keep the law. Like right here in Joshua chapter 5, they're keeping the law of keeping the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's why it says in verse 11, they did eat of old corn of the land of the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes, and parched corn in the selfsame day. Verse 12, and the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. Alright, Allah. Put that down and go sit down. Go sit down for the word. Alright. Verse 13, and it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, art thou for us or for our adversaries? So there was a man, all right, the man was in the distance, and he was staring in the distance, all right. He was standing there, he saw the man with a sword. And when he saw that man with the sword, word. One second. Let me see real quick. Make sure it's on the camera. See the camera good? All right. Alright. Let's see. So like about that. So now, there was a man that Joshua saw. Alright, and there was a sword in his hand. Alright. Verse 14. So Joshua is asking this man, are you for us or are you for our adversaries? Because he saw the sword. He saw the sword. This was a man of war. When there's a man carrying a sword, of course you're going to ask questions. Joshua was a man of war. You understand? Joshua was a minister for the Lord. And he was a military general. Like Joshua was a military general, he was a man of war, and he saw a man with a sword in the distance. So he's asking, hey, are you for us? Are you for our adversaries? I need to know. Because Joshua right now, Joshua's in war mode. Alright? Like Joshua is in war mode. Like the Lord gave an order to Joshua to go into the land of Canaan, and we were going to go to war. And we were going to go to battles. We were going to kick these other nations and heathens out of the land. So Joshua's in war mode. That's why this question is being asked. Verse 14. And he said, nay, but as captain of the host of the Most High am I now come. So now this was a angel from the Lord. This was an angel. Alright, this was an angel of the Lord. And that's why I said a captain. It says, but as captain of the host of the Most High am I now come. This was the Lord. This is one of the captains of the host of the Most High, meaning an army. Like the Lord is a man of war. You understand? Like this is what we have to understand. Like these angels that the Lord sends, and these prophets that the Lord sends, and these ministers and priests that the Lord sends, we were not these men and angels were never soft. These were absolutely tough, strong, militant figures. You understand that? They were militant, strong, non-weak, very militant figures. Nothing that the Lord sends had nothing to do with weakness. It always dealt with fighting. It always dealt with putting someone to death or keeping them alive by going to war or by fighting. There was some form of fight dealing with the Lord. Understand? That's why it said in Exodus in 15:3, I am a man of war, and the Lord is my name. You understand? So this captain of the host, which is the angel of the Most High, there was a sword in his hand. All right, or on his side, like it. It's like I was right the first time. In his hand. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth. So when that angel spoke, Joshua fell. That was it. He's like, oh, because Joshua recognized authority. You understand? Like, we want to understand that for sure. Joshua recognized authority. He recognized this right here, this man, this angel was sent from the Lord. Alright? He's over me. So whatever he says, I need to do. Joshua understood that. Alright? And Joshua fell on his face to the earth, and did worship, and said unto him, What saith Lord unto his servant? So Joshua's asking, What saith my Lord unto his servant? So he's asking, okay, pretty much give me any order. Right? Whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do it. Give me an order. Whatever I got to do, I'm going to do it. Like the Lord always dealt with order. The Lord always dealt with chain of command. You understand? Like right here, this was the chain of command right here. The Lord sent a captain to be with Joshua. You understand? This was the captain of a host. This was an angel in the army of the Most High. Because the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is about warfare. And the Lord is about order. The Lord is about having a chain of command. The Lord is about having a command. That's why it says right here, What saith my Lord unto his servant? Joshua's like asking me, hey, pretty much, if there's an order, give it to me. What do you want me to do? You understand? Like this is a military order, rank and command. This is right. That's why Joshua fell to his face. And that's why Joshua is saying, What saith my Lord unto his servant? Tell him, give me the order. Give me some form of order. Doesn't matter what it is. Give me the order and I will do it. The Lord is about military order, rank and command. You understand? Verse 15. And the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, Loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so. That man told him to take his shoes off. And Joshua did it. You understand that? Does everybody understand that? The angel just said, take your shoes off, huh? And Joshua did it. It said, and Joshua did so. Joshua didn't say, why my shoes? Why do I have to take my shoes off, Captain? Why do I have to do this? Why am I have to do that? What are you talking about, a holy place? I can't wear my shoes at a holy place? Joshua didn't say any of that, did he? No, Joshua said, Khan Wakan, and he did so. He said, yes, Lord, yes. That's what he said, because that's military. That's military order. That's rank. That's command. The Lord dealt with order. Throughout our generations, the Most High has always dealt with having an order, a ranking system, and a command throughout Israel. Alright? The nation of Israel, our nation, like we have to understand when it comes to coming back to our culture and coming back to our heritage, we come from a militant culture. You understand? We come from a military heritage. Like the traditions passed down to the Israelites were very militant. Like our government was ran by military generals and captains and officers. Like we have to understand that. Like it's not like in America, how in America you have civilians in Congress making up rules and trying to pass laws. That's not how Israel was ran. Israel, you had generals and captains, you understand, and the officers, you understand, in charge. And that was the government structure. And those very same generals and captains and officers may have been your priests, may have been your prophets, may have been your judges. Like that was how the Lord set things up. You can find that in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 16. Like the Lord set up a military order, rank, and command. That's why Joshua did what he did. The angel just said, take your shoes off. And he did it. You understand? He did it. He did it. No ifs, ands, or buts. He did it. He said, Kanawaka, and Joshua did so. You understand? We want to pay very close attention to those small details in the Bible. And a lot of our people overlook these small details in the Bible, and that's why there's so much confusion today. I was just in Clubhouse while I was at the slavery, and I was breaking down in Clubhouse how the Lord dealt with only one man, and the order came from that one man and down. And everyone believed that wasn't so. And I had to break down to everybody, like, if you want to keep the law, this is the law you have to keep. And no one understood until I said it. And then all in come, I was like, oh my God, I never knew that. Like, this is the problem that we have in the nation of Israel. We have no order. We have no rank and command. But if you listen to the men in charge that the Lord raised up, then maybe we would know about military order, rank, and command. And that's in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. All right, under command and General Yohanan. You understand? Maybe we would have known. You understand? And it's crazy. We have to pay very close attention to these small details. You understand? The Lord dealt with just shutting up and listening. All right, that's what the Lord dealt with. And that was the spirit of the prophets, just shutting up and listening, because it was about order. It was about rank. It was in command. It was about keeping the law. That's what the Lord dealt with, shutting up and listening. Because if you didn't shut up, you was talking. And if you were talking, you sure as hell wasn't listening. And because you weren't listening, you would have known not to eat pork. But now you eating pork. You understand? And now we're down from high blood pressure. You understand? We doing all this talking and not listening. Now you end up having sex with some Edomite, and now there's a whole bunch of confusion amongst Israel and a whole bunch of so-called mixed babies running around, and not realizing, well, who should I choose? Should I listen to my mother's side? Should I be on my father's side? What the hell is going on? Like, if we just shut up and listen, all right, to the man in charge who the Lord raised up, maybe we can actually get somewhere. You understand? And this is throughout the Bible. All right. It doesn't just start in Joshua. It started since Adam. That's why the Lord gave Eve, that desire should be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. Like, it just dealt with shutting up and listening. You understand? And Adam got checked for that too. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you know what I'm saying, not to go off the panhandle. All right. But in our law, in our records, in our culture, our heritage, all right, we come from a military order, rank and command type system. And the Lord built that. You understand? And clearly that very same military order, rank and command is also where the Lord dwells too, which is in heaven. That's why there was a captain sent down. So clearly that captain had to come from the Lord. Meaning this very same thing is in heaven too. That's why when you get into the New Testament, when Christ is also praying for the kingdom to come, what does it say? Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. It will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Like this, there's more. Just come to class more, and you'll learn the more spirit behind these scriptures. All right, and how important it is to listen to who the Lord put in charge. All right. With that being said, I'll say Imagine, which means to stand, which is just us up here. La Yashua. This will be the time that the priest will come up and the men will come up and they will salute the Torah. I imagine, which means to stand. That's everybody now. And face the east. We're going to do the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. The Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haydah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakaka, Daba'a, Batazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Barakaza, Kowa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Nathanawa, Lacham, Kal, Yawam, Wasalak Nawa. Kabawak nawa, kasalak nawa, kabawak nawa, wala'a, dabaya'a nawa, like it, dabaya'a nawa, banasayawa, abal, hawashai nawa, mayan, rai, kaya, laka, hamalakwa, waha'ala, wata'apara, la awalamyam, aman. In the English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever, so be it. Hakat, the power in the Hebrew, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh, Baba Kusha, Nathana Nawa, Hakat, Lavapa'a, Hamakara, Bakal Marawa, Hakak, Latahar, Hamadazariah, Hakak, Lahakuyam, Hamakim, Hakak, Al-Bakawa, Hatama'ala, Ladarashan, Ba'ashim Yahusha, the Wadaman, in the English, Yahweh, in the name Yahusha. Please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. The power to cleanse the leprous, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahushua, thank you, so be it. Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'a, Ayemya, Arahoyim, Ma'ayah, Yaba'a, Izoya, Ma'ayin, Yahweh, Aisha, Shemayim, Wa'ataza, Al-Yathan, Lamawat, Ragalka, Al-Yanawam, Shemoraka, Hana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yagashan, Shavamor, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shemoraka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al-Yad, Yanyanka, Yawamam, Hashamach, La'a, Yakaraka, Walarak, Walayana, Yahweh, Yashamoraka, Makarai, Yashamor, Napashka, Yahweh, Yashamor, Taza'aka, Wabawa'aka, Ma'ita, Wa'ai, Awalam, Aman. In the English, I will lift up my eyes into the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help comes from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in. From this time forth and even forevermore, so be it. Psalm 83 in the Hebrew. Alayim, al damayalaka, al takorash, wa al tasakwat, al kayahana, awayadaka, Yahweh your one, wa shanayaka, nasha'awa, ra'ash, al aimaka, ya awayamwa, sawad, wayaka ya'ay tazawa, al tazafawanyaka, amawa, lakawa, wala hakidam, Madoya, Wala'a, Yazakor, Sham Yasha'ala, Aywa, Kaya, Nawa'ai Tazawa, La, Yahadwa, Abika, Barya, Yakorakwa, Ahoya, Arawa, Wayashama'aliya, Mawa'aba, Wahagoya, Gabor, Wa'amaran, Wa'amala, Palasha, Aymishabya, Tazawar, Gam Asawar, Nanawa, Aimam, Hazawa, Zawawad, Labanalawa, Salah, Sagshalah, Aishadaham, Kamayan, Kasaya Saba'a, Kayabyan, Banakor, Koyaswan, Nashamadwa, Ba'ayan Ba'ara, Hazawa, Daman, La Adama, Shagatamwa, Nalayabawa, Kaya Salaki, boy, that's enough. Nashamadwa, Ba'ayandara, Laki, Halawa, Daman, La Adama, Shagatamwa, Narayabawa, Ka'ira, Wakaza'aba, Wakazabat, Wakazazabanai, Hal, Nasayakamwa, Ashua, Amowa, Nayarasha, Lamawa, Na'awa, Ala'ayam, Alahaya, Shagatamwa, Kagabala, Kakwash, Labana Raka, Ka'ash, Taba'awa Ya'awa, Wakalahaba, Talahat, Hoyam, Khan, Tabadatma, Basa Araka, Wabasawapaka, Baba'alam, Mala'a, Hayaham, Kwalawad, Wayabakwashwa, Shankar, Yahawa, Yabaswa, Wayabaharwa, Ayahai, Wayababawa, Wayabadwa, Wayada'aywa, Kaya, Ata, Shamka, Yahweh, Labarka, Al-Yawan, Al-Kab, Rafaza, Aman. In the English. Keep not thy silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy little ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, of Moab, and the Agarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre, after also joined with them. They are holding the children of Lot, Salah, do unto them, as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, as the brook of Kassan, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like a red, and like Zaed, yea, all their princes, as Abba, and as Amuna, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of Yahweh in possession. All thy power, make them like you will, as the stone before the wind, as the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame sets the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name. O Yahweh, let them be confounded, and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame, and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the Most High, over all the earth. So be it. The blessings in the Hebrew. Barakah Yahweh, wa Yahweh Shai, wa Mayaka Allah, wa Alahayim, Matazad Ya'ah, Alawat Ya'ala, Ha Alawat Yum, Ha Saranyam, Ha Kudazayanyam, Ha Kayayayam, Waha Azwakya, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, the water Almighty. In the English, bless you, Yahweh, and Yahushua, and Michael, and the angels, commanding General Yohanan, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua, thank you, so be it. We're going to do the prayer of the curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua, listen to us now, right now. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen that speak against us, by prophets, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers, and the school. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen, and shake loose the treasure of the rich of Israel that refuse to give to the school. Force the riches to enter thy sanctuary. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the Edomites, and the nations, and the drug dealers, the court system, the prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the governments of our enemies, Ammonite synagogues and armies. Warrior, go sit down. Ammonite synagogues and armies, Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, Egyptology, Aryan Nation, the lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space programs, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Wall Street, open up the internet and the airwaves, the cable access channels, and the radio channels. Convict the spirit of any of thy people that seek to stop us, and bring swift destruction to all the heathen that stand in the way or try to stop us from broadcasting the word throughout the planet earth. Let loose all the plagues, cause them to go to and fro through the earth, and consume them. Let the plague shake the house of the thief and the murderer. Let Yahushua, Michael and Gabriel come down with the flying saucers, and punish all the heathens that come up against us as we speak thy word. Cause it to be known by all that is the angels that have done it. Cause it to be spread through the media, throughout the whole world. Cause them to shake out thy coming. In the name of Yahushua, thank you always, so be it. We're going to do bless Israel in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Barak Renava, Wajasa Allah, Wahaba Yasapoya, Barak, Rabah, Magan, Hagan, Ba'ashem Yahushua, the word Ahmad. What we just said in the English. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua, bless us and Israel and the school. Bless, heal, shield, protect. In the name of Yahushua, thank you. So be it. Star, which means to turn. Salaki. The sisters that are walking can now be seated. Men of Israel, we're going to give a courage salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Amadim Shabbat, Almighty, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, Brakatham, Yamdim Matap, Salah walking. Turn to the sisters. Sisters, you can now, Almighty, you guys can now stand. Men of Israel, we're going to give a courage salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, Amadi, Barak, Yahweh Shamar, Alathan, Ba'ashem Yahushua. Yadim Matah. With that, class dismissed.